number of very important stories this morning, and let me start with yesterday, which was the Nigerian Armed Forces Celebration Day, where the president, represented by the Vice President Kashim Shettima, used the opportunity to deliver a speech and talk about perhaps the emerging strategy of this administration in its fight against insecurity, one of which is tech-led security, and I think that is spot on. It is what we've often talked about, and security experts who have been on this table, and it's great to see them now taking it forward. The fact that they are going to invest in equipment, I think it's important to just even highlight some of the key things that he mentioned. As part of celebrating, the Army Day, it is important to see how, number one, we protect armed forces. Number two, we see how we equip them better so that they're better able to fight against insecurity. Number three, it is important to see that Nigeria is standing behind them and giving them the most sophisticated of weapons, of intelligence-driven, intelligence-led operations to enable them do their work better and to avoid casualties as much as possible. Some of the things that he mentioned in his speech was utilizing surveillance, unmanned aerial vehicles, UAV, the use of, they said we're going to buy more mine-resistant ambush protection, protected vehicles, and that came up very strongly when the Army General was unfortunately killed in a vehicle when he drove over a landmine, and we thought that could have been prevented or perhaps even minimized in terms of the impact on him if he had been in that sort of vehicle. They would refurbish 100 armored fighting vehicles, but I think a key part of his submission through the Vice President was the reinvigoration or the bringing up again to DICON, which is the Defense Industries Corporation of Nigeria, whereby Nigeria will have an organization in Nigeria where we can manufacture these equipment locally. We can upskill and train our troops in intelligence-driven warfare. And I believe that at a time when we're talking about, this collaboration with our U.S. counterparts, this was something that came up very strongly, that how do we sustain the efforts and the wins that have been made by this collaboration with the United States? And one of the key ways of doing this is massive investment in infrastructure, massive investment in technology-led intelligence, including the use of AI, use of drones, and these are some of the things that the president has said. Now, the reason I'm highlighting this is that it's one thing to make a statement, it's another thing to put your back it up with power, money, and the will to do so. And this is what I'm hoping, that there'll be a follow-through, that not only would it just be a great thing to talk about on a day of celebrating the Army, but that the government actually puts the money where their mouth is. So we want to see more of these kinds of sustained efforts, the collaboration with Nigeria and the US, seeing how it will now materialize into concrete and sustainable wins for that sector. Moving on very quickly, I'll go to the oil marketers. Now, yesterday there was a meeting between the Minister of State for Oil, Heineken Lokobiri, the Regulatory Authority, NMDPRA, some of the FCCPC, and the downstream, some players in the downstream sector, as well as the Dangote refinery. And that conversation was just to double down on the position of the federal government on cost-reflective pricing of PMS. The argument from the federal government side is that, yes, based on the war in the Middle East, the price of crude oil went up significantly. Global oil prices in April, it went up to about $120, $118 to $120, moving from, at the time, trading initially before the war, hovering around $60 to $65 per barrel. Now that the prices are consistently coming down based on the agreement reached by the United States and Iran, now we have about the prices hovering at about $71. It is not yet reflected in the price that Nigerians pay to buy PMS, for instance. And yes, the argument has been that the government cannot interfere in pricing because it's now a fully deregulated market based on the provisions of the PIA. But I love that Heineken Lokobiri was able to detail the fact that the regulation is meant to promote competition, efficiency, investment, and it's not meant to encourage, exploitative pricing. And in order to protect the Nigerian consumer, they had to step in, especially, I believe, from the angle of the FCCPC. Whilst the federal government has limitations in influencing prices of PMS, the FCCPC, in the interest of perhaps monopoly, can actually step in and see whether or not there's unfair advantage for the oil marketers. However, something significant from the oil marketers' perspective is that it's not just global oil prices that influence what the end result is. There are prices around volatility of the FX, costs of import costs. And what they're saying is that if only they can have direct access, which Dangote Refinery has now provided for them, to get oil from Dangote Refinery, eliminating the middleman, it would help with reducing prices. If they can also be given import licenses, but to be fair, I don't think you should be talking about imports right now, because Dangote Refinery has said and proven that they're able to meet local demand if given a conducive environment to thrive, as well as full government support, which Ipman also, advocated for in that particular meeting. But what Nigerians want to see is that anything that goes up based on global oil prices ought to be able to come down based on the same, global oil prices, all things being equal. But let me yield the floor right now to Rufai. Your take on these stories this morning.
So, I saw that meeting, but I felt there was a lot of not addressing the issues in that meeting. Yes, government will come and say they want to be on the part of the people, but I like to deal with empirical facts. I don't like emotions of government and all of that. No. What is it? Dangote released a statement, I think it was a newspaper editorial, breaking down how much they pay for the barrels of crude that they bring in. For the month of May, it was about over $100 per barrel, because things were still crazy then. But for the month of June, it was about $92 per barrel. So we're going to do a calculation this one. So it's not about emotions or government calling oil regulators, no. And it's not about import licensing where people bring in things. It's about practical sense. If Dangote in the month of June brought in products at the rate of $92 per barrel, according to Pratt, the pricing mechanism, which is 159 liters, per barrel, if you make the division of 159 liters that is in a barrel, and you make the division, you will get 0.58 for the raw price of a price of crude. Don't forget, the $90 per barrel is away from the $73 per barrel. See, let me explain it this way. If you want to fly a plane to London, there's a base price, about a 1 million naira price for the lowest ticket economy class. But there's also a price for premium economy. There's also a price for first class. Because the base price is 1 million doesn't mean you buy a ticket at 1 million. If you want first class, you can buy it at 4 or 5 million. That's the same thing with crude, all right? There are premiums on blends. They blend the Dangote Refinery by higher blends, like the Kwaeboe, the Bonny Light and everything. Bonny Light, for instance, if the market was not discussed, it was like $5 on top of the price of Brent. So it doesn't have to mean that the price has to be the price of Brent. But now, the markup is going as much as $20 on top of this product. So that's how I got that calculation about $90-something for the price of crude. If government is truly ready to make things better, they should sell crude to Dangote, the crude he needs, at the price of Brent, which they will not do, because some of their crude are already out in the international market. So Dangote ends up going to buy the same Nigeria Bonny Lights that's already out in the international market because of crude swaps and contracts at a premium and bring it back into the country. So let's do the calculation. After you have that landing cost, the pure price, the raw price, is about $792 naira to 810 naira. The port handling charges will take you between 120 to 160. The depot and regulatory fee, NMDPRA, I saw my brother and my friend there in charge of NMDPRA, Rabiu. Port and regulatory fee, and depot and regulatory fee 40 to 60 naira. Transport and logistics 80 to 150 naira. That's trucking. Marketers margin 60 to 120 naira. The final price still comes to about 1,150 to 1,400 naira. But in fact, it's even less than this now. So that's the idea. Except the international margins start to drop, you will never really get anything as regards a rebate on the pricing. Because the international sellers of crude, because things are still hourly in the Strait of Hormuz, peace has been restored, but you don't have a permanent deal. Things are still volatile. I think last week or last 2 weeks, they shot missiles at each other, isn't it? the price are still benchmark and the futures are still high. So you can see direct price of Brent, the future, the base price, the price for the economy class ticket at $72 a barrel. It doesn't mean that when you want to buy the blend you want, a good blend or a premium Brent that you want to crack in your refinery, you are going to get that $72 per barrel. You can get as much as $90-something per barrel. Second point about the government.
So tech, there's
tech, yeah,
there's
good stuff.
Pro of the tech companies and also tech-driven security.
Very needed, because when you look at it, I was sharing with somebody recently about the news ecosystem. I was talking about the fact that Nigerian news agencies should now start having licensing deals with the tech companies, because of the high algorithm that Nigerian news agencies will never have, because you can't invest in that technology, is worth billions. I mean, running cost of Facebook in a year goes up to hundreds of billions alone. There's no Nigerian newsroom that can invest that kind of money online. Let's not deceive ourselves how much we even make in the ecosystem. So because you don't have that power of competition, what they do is that they use the stronger algorithms. They still take from some of your items, iterate them and use them, but they don't pay for them in some cases, or they pay mini amount in some cases. So what the FCCP is saying is not new. Countries have done it. Australia did it the other time. I think they passed the law. Canada did it. New Zealand did it. Even the EU, I think, has decided to do it, where you say that initial news publishers should be paid a lot more. So the FCCP can do all of this, have a bulk agreement, but I think it is time for, in the independent newsrooms, now to reach out to the likes of the Meta, the Googles, the X's of this world and say, okay, as an independent publisher that I can assure you this level of eyeballs and iterations and impressions, what are you going to give me in return? It should be different from the normal monetization platform. As long as you're an independent platform, you have the exclusive and everything, they should be able to pay for you. So it's a welcome development. And as regards technology bit, I think I've constantly been saying it. I think I was the one that said the other day that government should be thinking of how to partner with universities, research institutions in this country to be able to develop and scale up more. I mean, we have Proforce, we have DICON. There's a lot more that can be done, to be able to get this out there. I think I'll leave you the floor this time.
All right.
Okay, first on the issue of the tech companies, big tech, using local content, news material without paying for it, even if it is, news coming from materials hidden behind the paywalls. Now, in 2025, just to prove that this is not new, the FCCPC of Nigeria had fined Meta about 220 million naira in protest. This time around, the matter has come up again because the Nigerian Press Organization has done a petition to now say that Meta, Google, big tech generally would have to pay for the use of local material. And there are precedents in other countries. Australia, where they have a bargaining code. The European Union, where in 2020, Meta was required to pay over 300 publications, a certain amount. In Canada, where there is an agreement that 100 million annually should be paid to local publishers whose materials are used. South Africa, that also got over $500 million from Google just about last year. And then France, Germany, Spain, Brazil, India. These are some of the countries that have agreements with big tech in terms of how materials are used. I think that, local publishers, yes, they don't have the capacity of these international big tech companies, but they also invest resources, and I think that it will be good, a very positive development for the Nigerian government to back up these local publishers and ensure that they can get revenue for some of their products. Now, but this will require bargaining, this will require signing of agreement. But to the extent that we have examples, precedents in other jurisdictions to rely upon, this, of course, will seem to look like a good direction in which Nigeria should go. And the FCCPC and the Nigerian government should be encouraged, to pursue this to the letter. Now, as for the issue of Right Honorable Olufemi Akingbadzabiamila, through Pinero LP, saying that a certain Prince Adeyemi Matthew should stop, she cease and desist, that's the technical phrase there, from defaming him, and that he will have to do a retraction of the bribery claims that he has made, and he will also have to publish an apology and a retraction in at least five national newspapers. Well, this is a serious matter because reputation is personal. It is all that a man has. When a man's worth is reduced in the estimation of right-thinking members of the society, he has a right to defend his reputation. And I think that the Chief of Staff, Gbajabiamila, has acted rightly by taking this legal route. Apart from the matter that is already in the Federal High Court, which will be heard July 27, as you have been told. Now he has a right to defend his reputation. Now we have been told that failing any action on the part of the certain Prince Adeniyi Matthew, he will have to, his Gbajabiamila's counsel will have to go to court, and they are looking at about 10 billion naira in damages. So, in other words, what I've said so far is that Gbajabiamila has the right to defend his reputation, whether he's Chief of Staff or not. However, the latest development in that matter that I find curious is the report yesterday that the police went to Ogbomoso to arrest the father of this Prince Adeniyi, and also a family friend who was on the scene at the time, and that his mother is now in distress. Now, except you can establish that those persons have any connection with whatever the prince called Adeniyi is accused of, it is completely wrong to do substituted arrests, or what is otherwise called arrest in lieu. Criminal liability under jurisprudence is personal. You don't arrest by proxy. So you can prove that that person has a case to answer. Section 7 of the Administration of Criminal Justice Act of 2015 says that culpability or liability or responsibility is not transferable. And I think that it is scandalous, as I've argued this morning, that the Nigerian police does not even understand elementary law, and they are the ones who are supposed to enforce the law. And this is not the first time that they will do it. They will arrest a child, they will arrest mothers, they will arrest parents for offenses that are purportedly committed by their children. Quickly, to speak on Lokobiri, meeting with refineries and petroleum marketers. Now, we have said it again and again here on this table, that we should move away from sentiments, from propaganda, from emotions. Regardless of the fact that the Nigerian government, either through Senator Ainek in Lokobiri or the FCCPC, needs to show the Nigerian people that it cares. I once cited the example of President Trump, also on this table, saying that President Trump says, well, if the spot price goes down, the pump price of gasoline, as they call it in the United States, should also go down. But I raised the point about pricing mechanism. The oil market runs a futures market. What Dangote refinery, to cite a familiar example, is refining now is probably what was bought 2-3 months ago, when fuel price, spot price of crude was over, let's say $100, from $73 as at February 27, before the February 28 outbreak of the U.S.-Iran-Israel war. Now, so if that is the case, if you bought at almost more than $100, are they recommending that the refinery should lose money? Are they recommending a blackmail tactics? So this is how it works. Now that they are buying at $72, $73, at one point under $70, now we should be able to see the effect in another 1 or 2 months or 3 months. And that's why I think the Nigerian government, the best that it can do in the circumstance is to caution. And also, IPMAN, the independent petroleum marketers, is saying, we can even sell at 800 naira or below 800 naira. some of these people who make these comments, they come from a province of ignorance and complete illiteracy. Do these people read at all? Do they follow trends? So I think while the Nigerian government can be commended for cautioning, for showing concern for the people, it is not something, fuel price is not something that can be fixed by fiat in a free market regime.